I'm literally, I'm literally just gonna toss it.
Take one.
Take two, because I was in the middle of talking that time.
Take two.
Welcome to Black in Business, where the possibilities are limitless. I'm your host, the Eunice.
And I'm Miss G.
And today we're talking about seeking access. We started in the last one and we're going to build on, we're adding some more information to seeking access, starting your road and your path and your journey into business ownership. So, with that being said, I'm going to kick it to Miss G.
Of course, she always kicks it over to me.
I'm kicking right on to you.
Okay, so I think what I want to put emphasis on today, a subcategory of seeking access is definitely establishing where you are in your journey. I think for people that want to be business owners, or let's back that up. If you haven't established that you want to be a business owner, but you realize that the job that you work in, you don't enjoy, you don't like, it's not giving you the life that you want, or you don't get to see your kids as much as you like, or get to see your significant other, your spouse, then I feel like that's the time for you to evaluate if what you're doing is working and if you're happy with it. So I feel like that's really like your first step of deciding, is this really the type of life I want to live? I think if you ask most people, excuse me, are they living their dream life? Majority of people say no. There are so many people that have just gotten so used to going to work, working however many hours, going through traffic, getting home, fixing dinner, taking a shower, rinse, repeat. But if you look at the actual quality of your life, are you content with it? Like, are you actually happy with what's going on? Or is it just like that's what you're used to? That's what you've gotten accustomed to. And so you're just kind of like going through the motions. And I feel like if you're not content with it or you don't like where your life is, then that's when you should put a stake in the ground and say, okay, I want to change this, because as long as there's breath in your body, you have time to change it.
Right.
But I also feel like you need to be comfortable with saying, I don't want any more. Like, it sounds, I don't want to say crazy, but I think sometimes people think that they need to say what other people want them to say. So if someone asks you, like, you know, are you enjoying where you work and do you enjoy the type of life you live? If you are truly content, like, be comfortable with saying you content. Be comfortable with saying, I don't want any more, any less than what I have, because that's okay. If that's where you are, that's perfectly fine. But if that's not where you are, then now you need to start thinking about or trying to get more information on what can you do to change it. Because there's so much, and it's a technology day and age, there's so much information that we have access to and that we can obtain. So if you're truly not happy with where you are, I feel like it's up to you to change it. And so sitting down and having a genuine conversation with yourself about what is it that I really want. Do I want to spend the rest of my life working for a job that only lets me have 2 weeks off a year? Do I want to spend the rest of my life working at a job where as soon as I get sick, they make me feel as though I've done something wrong, although I'm at work constantly and I'm on time and I do my job well, or I've trained other people to do their job and they don't pay me more. Like, putting those things into perspective, it can open your eyes to some of the things. I feel like the very first thing that I would suggest that you do is really just sitting down and having a heart to heart with yourself about what it is that you want, what it is that you are currently doing, and if that's enough. From my own personal experience, before I had my daughter, the job that I worked in telecommunications, which, for those who don't know, I was a police dispatcher for a pretty decent sized city, and it was shift work. And when I started the job, I was 24, working crazy hours, working overnight. It wasn't a big deal because I was young, fry, in my prime, no children, no worries. So working all of those hours didn't bother me. Like I remember, it sounds so crazy to say now, but I remember having to be at work at 6 a.m. and going out to a party and not getting home till 2 a.m. and being at work at 6:30 and working a 12-hour shift. Now today at 37, your girl could not do that. But then I had no problem. And so like when I started the job being 24, because I was young, working overnights, working different schedules, working 12-hour shifts consistently, it wasn't hard on my body. Getting married, having a spouse that I now want to spend time with, that changed the dynamic. Having our first daughter, that changed the dynamic because now I have this tiny human whom I'm nursing and whom depends on me for all of her nutrients. Me being at a job for 12 hours, not including traffic, 30-minute drive to 30-minute drive home. If there's an accident, that's even more. So potentially being away from her for 16 hours and she depends on me for food, that didn't make sense. So for me, that's what sparked the change in my mind of there has to be another way to do this. And I feel like oftentimes when life hits you in certain ways, that's really what opens your mind to maybe I could do this another way. But when you are content with what you're doing, then you're less likely to think outside that box. For me, it was having a little person. I wanted to spend more time with her. I didn't want somebody else raising her. I didn't want somebody else having more influence in my child's life than me because I'm always at work. And I also saw other people that worked so many hours, and because they felt guilty that they weren't seeing their children, they would try to reward them with all these trips and vacations. And I really just realized that at the end of the day, when my daughter is scared or when she's sick, me working those hours and me bringing in all that money would not matter to her. What matters is that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So for me, that perspective alone made me shift my thought process and think I need to find something different, which is what led to me and my husband seeing our business model and even being open to being business owners. Before that, I had your desire to be an entrepreneur. Thankfully today, listen, I'm a reigning champ and people are like, you seem like you've been in business for years. I'm like, I appreciate that because I've grown so much.
You have been in business for years.
I mean, I have, but it hasn't been like, compared to people that's been entrepreneurs for like 30 years, I don't have that much skin in the game. But before we started our business, I was not entrepreneurial minded.
Yeah.
Real desire to have a business. I didn't want to have employees, which I still don't, just to clarify. I didn't want to have to micromanage people because that's not my personality. And I feel like most jobs that you think about, there's some aspect or someone that works there that tries to micromanage you and that like gets off on making sure like, oh, you didn't do this right. And it's like, do you really want to be a glorified babysitter? That's not my ministry. So I do remember there being a time in my life where I wanted nothing to do with business ownership.
Yeah.
And life circumstances made me shift my perspective because I really didn't have enough information to make an educated decision. But then having a spouse and having a child made me go out and seek that information and figure out how can I do something different to where I can be a prominent figure in my child's life, how I don't have to sacrifice my marriage to go spend hours with people that I genuinely don't like. Most of them I did not like. Some of them I did. Like some of them I still have contact with and like they are lifelong friends. But a lot of them, majority of them, I didn't care for. And talking about officers, we're not even gonna get on that topic, but just know that all officers are not created equal. There are officers that are genuine buttholes, and then there are some that are amazing people. So a lot of the ones that I dealt with, unfortunately, were buttholes. So that aided in me not liking the job.
Yeah.
So I just had that added more fuel to my fire, so to speak. It made me step outside of the box that I was used to and be like, you know what? Let's see what this entrepreneurial life is like because this corporate is not getting it. I say all that to say, like, I think the first step is really evaluating where you are and being comfortable where you are. regardless of where that is. Whether you are wanting to get out of corporate, whether you love corporate and you just want to climb the corporate ladder, that's okay too. But just really sitting down and deciding, like, what do I genuinely want? Not what has been projected onto you, not what have you seen with your mom, dad, grandparents, siblings, cousins, whoever. Deciding what you genuinely want for you and your family, what you want your dynamics to look like. And I feel like from there you can kind of like reverse engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I said a lot, so now here,
A lot of good stuff.
what are you?
And go ahead.
I said a lot, so now I want to hear what are your thoughts? Correct.
For me, it was the pressure of the life I was already living. And I said that in episode 1. If you want to hear about that a little bit more, check out episode 1. But it was the pressure of like seeing where we were as a family, me and my son. um, I have 2 degrees. Thank God. I love that I was able to go to school and do that. But that's not everybody's path. But I have my bachelor's, master. I have my associate's, bachelor's, and master's. I started at the ground. I started ground up. So I have 3 degrees, and I was still struggling. And it was the pressure. It was the pressure of, I'm doing all of this work. I'm not getting very far. Is this it? And so it that my evaluating process, like I believe mentioned, started in high school, seeing that it was so limited. The options were limited in that space, and the options that they offered, I didn't want any of them. But then fast forwarding, seeing that I'm at least working in what I went to school for, or I was working in my passion, but it was somebody else's job. So and my creativity isn't always what they want. And then my time, because I'm a night person, so my night personness doesn't always work for 7:45. Like sometimes I'm going to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning because I loved working and creating when it's quiet in the middle of the night. So it was the just that pressure of, we I'm not where I want to be, and seeing that there was another way, and I wanted that other way. And so I'm working again, this transparent. I'm still working as a teacher as I transition into full business ownership. But already, like, we can come up with new ideas in the middle of the day.
Like we did before we started this.
Like exactly right before. Or just being able to take your idea and mesh it with somebody else's idea, and it's still your baby, it's still your creation, and you get to put it out there in the world. So the job I work at, I love the people. I am blessed to have a place where 99.4% of the people I love. And so that's not a hindrance, but I'm I'm living inside someone else's dream. I'm not living, yeah, that can preach. I'm living inside somebody else's dream. And so being raised in the era that I was raised in, where you respect your elders and you don't talk back and you don't question it in authority, it's always a little bit well, it's uncomfortable, but don't think I don't do it. But it's uncomfortable to go against what that person wants, desires, or plans. If they plan for us to use this program, and I'm looking at this program and I'm thinking this is not great, I don't have the right to change that program. In my business world, when I see something that doesn't work, we can, what's our word? Pivot. We can pivot in that moment. And so it just knowing that I see more and more that I want to be able to control the narrative of my story and my life that goes into business ownership. And even my son, who is a preteen, God bless me, and all those out there that have preteens, he has input on the business. And I love that for him. I love that he comes to me and he is making decisions because nobody has stopped him. Nobody has told him, you can't have a business. You can't put in on this business. And he's just like, hey, why don't we try this? So already I get to see his creativity. It's scary. There are scary moments. Um, it's for me, it's not always easy because this is new at times. For me, it's new levels, it's new adventures, it's new hurdles or problems or adversities. But my here in evaluating where you are, I'm like, what's the difference when I go to the job that if I don't like something, or if I'm having a bad day, I still have to be at that job. I still have to report to that job, and I don't quit that job because I had a bad day.
Listen, and you will faithfully clock in, bad day or not.
Yeah. Well, and then for me, it's like if you're looking at going into a business and you have a bad day, are you gonna quit? And I'm being real.
For me,
Those moments come up.
yeah.
For me, my faith is what I lean on, because if I want to give up and I'm hearing "Don't Quit," there's a wonderful poem, by the way, by what was his name? Edgar A. Guest.
Edgar A. Guest, not Edgar Allan Poe. Just FYI.
One of us thought Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm not gonna say it's the one in the
It
yellow.
was, it,
In the
it,
yellow. I'm not
all
gonna say who it was.
I heard was Edgar A. And I immediately thought of Edgar Allan Poe and was like, he didn't say that.
Yeah, he did not. She was correct, and he didn't say that. But a wonderful poem by Edgar Allan Guest, and it I think just speaks to the truth that if you're gonna have adversities. We're going to have issues that come up, whether you're in business for yourself or not. But so often, if we're in business for ourselves, that's what we use to say, oh, this isn't right. But if you have adversities with all those people you didn't like at the job, are you necessarily giving up on the job? No, because maybe that's your security blanket. If you're holding on to that job as a security blanket, is it really secure? You mentioned that, but that just preached.
Just want you to know, I wrote down 3 points. It's the 3 more episodes, and you just 4.
Okay.
Because that in itself deserves a whole what's the word, highlight of its own.
Yeah.
As far as job being a security, we're not gonna get into that today, but
Not
just that it's coming
right here in that evaluation. That's part of it. That's the researching, the seeing where you are, being realistic with where you are. Are you content? Are you happy? Is this driving you towards your purpose? Because we have dreams, and a lot of us leave them on the shelf, and we walk out that door to that 9 to 5, or that 8 to 4, or that 12 to 12, almost hating it, but we're holding on to it, and we're not looking at the transition that I can do this, whatever this is. I can that's why we say the possibilities are limitless. There is no limit. And Miss G said something a few episodes ago that is so poignant that I can't remember yet. What did you say? What did you say? You say so many good things. I was saying study, evaluate, you gotta be, I have no idea. But it was good. It just went
okay.
so.
So I'm going to add to, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to add to your purpose, walking in your purpose.
Yes.
I feel like I
That's
around older people, You got it? You
I
ready?
did.
Okay, go ahead. Because I'm not going to.
God doesn't give you an idea for no reason. You don't have these ideas.
That's what I said. God doesn't give you ideas to tease you. If your brain can fathom it, that's God letting you know that you can achieve it.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like, you come up with these ideas and oftentimes you don't write them down, or you're like, oh, I'll look into that later, and then you forget about it. But he equipped us with everything that we need. Just oftentimes we can ignore it. Like she said, you put your dreams on the shelf because a lot of times you might think you have more time to accomplish it, or you think it's not really that important right now, or you feel like I have so much other stuff to do and I'll get back to it. And who knows, you might try to get back to it and completely forget what it is. Like we've done several times on this.
Really edit.
So I'm saying it's very possible that God can give you an idea and it's meant for you to write it down, and then you let it slip through your fingers. And I feel like along with your purpose, God gives each of us a purpose. Now, whether you believe in God or not, that is your own cross to bear. I believe in God. If you haven't figured it out, I'm letting it be known. I believe in God, and I feel like He gives all of us a purpose. And I grew up around older people, so I naturally like to help people. That's who I am. That's my foundation. There's no way I can get away from it, even if I wanted to. It's built in me. And so I've had people ask me, like, why are you giving me this? Or why are you sharing this with me? And I'm like, it's not necessarily mine to keep. Like the way that I grew up, because I grew up with older people, they all had been alive longer than I had been. Therefore, they all knew multiple ways to do things. So if I know an easier way or a faster way to do something, I feel like it's my duty to share that with you to save you some time. And that's just a concept that I grew up with. But I feel like I've always helped people, but I didn't necessarily see that as my purpose. Whereas last year, it was made very clear to me that that is my purpose, and I am meant to help people. I wasn't made a helper by mistake. I was made a helper on purpose. And now that I know that, I feel like that gives me the freedom to help even more people, if that makes sense. Even though that was already my heart, God revealing that He made me a helper on purpose let me know that I'm supposed to help more people than the people that I know, because He made me a helper intentionally for me to go help the people He wants me to help. Now, do I know all those people? I do not. However, am I more intentional about putting myself in places because I know God wants me to help more people? I am. I'm very intentional about just making sure that I am doing my part and being wherever I feel I'm supposed to be, because I don't know who I'm meant to cross paths with. And I know that once I get into whatever space I'm supposed to be in, if I'm meant to meet somebody, I'm going to meet them. Or if somebody's meant to meet me, they're going to meet me, because I'm being intentional about walking in my God-given purpose. And I feel like that's another thing that I would say is a part of first steps, along with realizing where you are, really sitting down and realizing, what am I good at? What things do you naturally do that you don't think twice about?
I love animals and knowledge and teaching it.
I'm gonna let y'all have that one, because that ain't for me. She's talking to y'all right now.
I'm taking her along for the ride. I'm bringing her along.
She's talking to y'all right now. So I feel like just really, I guess, coming to terms with what did God innately equip you with. And I can almost guarantee that that's a part of your purpose. How you use that, because if He gave it to you, it's a gift. I've learned that any type of skill set or thing that you have to establish, that you have to practice on, that's not a gift. That's something that you have either taught yourself or someone has taught you and you developed it. If God gave it to you, it was a gift. It's in you. You don't have to do anything to create it. It's already there. You may have to do some things to kind of hone it, or to I don't want to say perfect it, because perfection is not
develop it, strengthen it.
I'm gonna say strengthen it, because perfection is not in my vocabulary. You might have to do things to strengthen it, but if God gave it to you, it's a gift. You just have to figure out how to use it. So I feel like when you figure out your God-given gift, that will aid you in realizing your purpose and what you're meant to do. And of course, that looks totally different for different people. But I feel like that creates the foundation in starting the entrepreneurial process, if that's where you are. And then being able to incorporate your gift throughout the journey is what will make it enjoyable. I feel like there are ups and downs when it comes to business ownership, but as a wise person once told me, you have to choose your heart. It's hard to be a business owner. It's also hard to be homeless. Which heart do you want to choose? It's hard to have a lot of money. Like they say, more money, more problems. It's also hard having no money. So either way, you're gonna struggle. The question is, which struggle would you prefer to have?
Yeah. That was a great note to close on. We all have
Your magic words.
All have a struggle. Which struggle do you want to focus on?
Struggle.
Yeah, that is good. Well, we're going to say goodbye for now. I'm gonna wrap it up. Wow. I appreciate most of your time. I appreciate the conversation. Look at where you are, evaluating where you are is a great step in starting your journey into business ownership, if that is your heart.
And so, if you found any of this information helpful or beneficial, insightful, however you want to word it, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can hear all of the videos that are coming up. And our closing line is, we give you all this information, you get all of this interaction because we are changing lives all 2025. So hopefully the things that we share is very insightful, and it kind of just gives you a starting point, if you will. So on that note, we're gonna see you in our next episode.
See you soon.
And see.
And of course, if you have questions or comments, we're here. I'm going to let her finish that out, and I'm probably going to edit my part. If you enjoyed the conversation, I hope to see. I don't know. My brain.
Take 3.